How do?
How do?
Been chatting for hours. So I turned up today to with Keith to do part one of his life story. Apparently it's not happening because he's got some questions for me, which is fair enough. So I'm going to ask you one, and then you can fire away, yeah? So he first got in touch with me through social media, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, you agree?
Yep.
Good. Yeah, little message. You didn't exactly explain, but you talked about the departure lounge. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, because I am interested in that, you can tell me that little story and then we'll crack on. And then when I've done questions at some point, we'll get into your life story, mate.
Yeah.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm alright.
Good. Crack on.
Yeah, departure lounge. A cell on healthcare. They call it the departure lounge for obvious reasons. I didn't know it was called that. I was poorly.
Physically or mentally?
Yeah, physically. I'd found out that I had a mass that was blocking the tubes coming off my kidneys. So I was having to have stents and things like that. A lot of pain, uncomfortable to walk. So they put me in this cell, departure lounge.
How long were we on there?
About a week, I think.
Any good stuff on there?
Yeah. There was one or two. I can't remember the names now. Yourself was on there, obviously. Just Miss Bradbury.
Miss Bradbury, my manager, talk about her a lot. Good lass.
Yeah.
Miss Kenny.
Yeah, Miss Kenny. Yeah.
Little blonde lass, nurse.
Yeah, Miss Kenny was on. Yeah. I'd come out the day I moved into that cell. I came out of it to go for a meal, and as I was walking through the server lads were saying, "Departure lounge, mate. What are you doing in there?" And I'm going, "Departure lounge? What are they on about?" I didn't know what they were talking about. Anyway, I found out that most people that go into that cell are that poorly, they don't come out of it. So I was like, oh,
did they put you in the big cell?
Yeah, with the electric bed and all.
Right, let me explain what it is, because I didn't know you were in there. When you were saying departure lounge, I'm thinking, well, I worked on there 7 years. What? Right. So we had enhanced nursing suite. Because of the dark humour, we called it a death cell. It was a cell knocked into two. It had a medical bed. It had a wet room.
Shower, yeah.
Yeah, it had everything. So if you were in there, you were ill, mate.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I see now why they were saying about the departure lounge.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't think I was dying. I didn't feel like I was dying, but I was quite happy being in that cell for obvious reasons. Yeah, because it had electric bed and, like you say, a walk-in shower. So I was in there for about a week. So you just come out in association, pool room, whatnot. And I remember, I don't even know how we got chatting. We ended up. No, we didn't play pool. We were sat on the chairs around. Anyway, we started talking, and I was telling you, was asking me why I was in there. I told you a bit about my background. We just got chatting about life in general, and I told you about the work I'd done in Risley with facilitating a group for male victims of sexual abuse, supported by Survivors Manchester. And I said that led me to getting a job with them when I got out, and that the CEO, Duncan Craig of Survivors, he invested a lot of time. He championed me to what do you call it? The people that not charity. Trustees. He championed me to the trustees. And I got the job, and I worked for him for a few months. And I told you about my addiction, and one day going out at lunchtime from work and relapsing. And that led to me telling my boss, Duncan, who supported me, offered me counselling, supervision. And I told probation I got recalled. And
we'll go into that in more depth.
Yeah, I really felt like I'd let Duncan down, and I was beating myself up quite badly. And you spoke to me, and I remember some things you said, and one of them that was what happened to me. I told you what happened to me when I was young, and you said it wasn't my fault, and it was out of my control, and they were your exact words. And when I thought about it, I thought, yeah, okay. And then you said, what is your fault, and what has been in your control is how you've lived your life since. That's in your hands. And I thought, yeah, and I felt like I'd allowed the abusers to continue abusing me by my own actions, by continuing to self-harm, which is using drugs.
Yeah, of course it is.
You're self-medicating, it's self-harming, and that's what I'd done. And it was that conversation with you, it hit me hard that I've not been back to prison since. Now, I'm coming up to nearly 2 years being out. The longest I've ever been out since 1990 is 7 months. You know, so I'm glad I met you on the healthcare, and I'm glad we had that conversation. But I wouldn't have had that conversation with any officer. I can say that without question. I only had that conversation with you because of your approach, and I've spoke to you about approaches, whether it's from an inmate or like you said, treat people how you want to be treated. You know, speak to people
how you want to be spoken, yeah.
And that's how you spoke to me. You know, so it just made me speak to you like that.
How long was that conversation?
That conversation was probably 15-20 minutes long.
So, you know, I don't mean it, well, you'll know what I mean. So was that a bit of a life-changing conversation?
Yeah, definitely.
So 20 minutes of my time listening.
Yeah.
And just saying what I thought, because obviously I've changed my thoughts on this, you know. I was thinking about this today, because I'm sad coming down. Because somebody once said to me, you know, what qualifies you to speak about this? I tell you what qualifies me. Working with people in mental health, lasts us 4 years, working with young offenders, working in a kids home, working in a segregation unit, working on K-Wing, and working on the healthcare for 7 years. That's what qualifies me.
Yeah.
And honesty is the best policy again, isn't it? You know, telling you don't tell people what they want to hear, tell them how it is.
That's what you did, and in the end, I ended up writing a letter to Duncan, and me and Duncan met up again, and it was in a prison. It was in Risley, I think. Risley or Alt Course. And he came down, and I had a drugs worker there called Robbie Bidulph. What a guy. Top counsellor, top bloke. And he arranged for Duncan to come down, and he come down, and the three of us sat in the room and had a conversation. And Duncan said, I don't give up on people. And he never has. You know, I've got a lot of love and respect for this guy. And he said, there's a second chance waiting for you there. You know, just get yourself together. See me when you get out. But I started getting more poorly. And there was no way I could go to work when I got out, voluntary or paid. I could hardly walk. I could barely walk.
Physical health. Physical health.
When I was at the first time they started putting stents in, they went through the odd trick. Yeah, that's how they were putting them in. Well, walking is hard because you continuously, when you've got stents, you don't feel like you finished a wee. So you'll go and have a wee, and then you'll think you're finished, and as you're walking away, you feel like you want a wee again, you know? And that's what stents make you feel like, so it's very uncomfortable. When you're walking, it's even more uncomfortable. The pain, the burning sensation. So I just couldn't, I was not mobile, let's put it that way, not properly anyway. You know, so, but I'm still in touch with Duncan. I will meet him again.
Yeah, you should stay in touch with him. How long is it since you last used heroin?
So heroin, 2018. I can't remember what month I got recalled now.
Yep.
So it's 2018. However, that's prison. I'd say not used heroin since November 2020, because that's when I got out. And in prison, I could be a model prisoner. I don't touch drugs. I get my head down. Drugs don't bother me, and I feel comfortable. Out here, I'm not used to life. I struggle on life terms, you know, and I can always get 3 or 4 months under my belt when I get out without using, and then, you know, the boredom, the monotony, it just gets too much.
Plus probably the pain and the stresses with the temptation.
Yeah, and I end up using. This time I haven't.
You've got a bit of purpose, haven't you?
No, heroin no longer exists.
You've got someone for you, you know, love of your life.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thanks for that. So, you know, it's a bit of time, just investing a bit of time in it. It costs me nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Fire away.
Okay. So question 1. As a prison officer, what in the job affected you the most?
What affected me the most? I think possibly not what I saw, although seeing people at the lowest is not good, you know. I think it's people's inhumanity. How people dealt with situations and made situations worse. A lot of incidents in prison, particularly when you know, the healthcare, dealing with mental health and that, you know, there's some quite disturbing things. Well, let me tell you what the best managers are, and from that you'll understand what I'm saying. The best managers aren't necessarily the best managers at managing an incident or something like that. The people who care. So they turn up, they have a look, and I mean, they care about everyone, prisoners, staff. Yeah, a good manager turns up. Does she need to go in? Is he all right? What's happening here? They're the ones for me. Yeah, a bit of empathy, understanding. The people who turn up, and we've talked about one manager who used to hand out good hidings and that, and all them people out there who get upset when I talk about things like this. It's how, you know, it's an inconvenience. Coming to an incident, you've just dealt with a death in custody. Some PO turns up and he's pissed off because you've dragged him away from his duties. You know, he's got no thoughts about anybody at all. That puts me on top note. Inhumanity and failure to care about anybody.
Brilliant. Okay. Number 2. What was your most worthwhile day in the job?
Oh, tough one again. Lots of worthwhile days. For me, people always say, you know, you're proud of the job. No. It's a very difficult one, that. I've always said my mum and my nan would be proud of the way I conducted myself, but getting feedback off people like yourself, you know, knowing that, you know, you help people. So nothing specific. The fact, any day when you're helping somebody.
Yeah, and you feel that, and you get.
Well, you didn't always feel it at the time, but if you know, if I've invested a bit of time, even if you don't think, you know, for me.
And if people acknowledge and appreciate that time, then yeah, it does make it worthwhile, I think.
Yeah, not necessarily people, you know, you'd congratulate yourselves as a work, like on the healthcare, we looked after each other.
Yeah.
We counselled each other, we looked after each other. So, you know, working within that team, yeah, very rewarding. I enjoyed it.
I like that. I think you suited that job in healthcare.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I left August 2015. I stuck it out from March. It weren't the same job. We got new staff. They didn't care. It was going back to being a segregation unit rather than a wing that was a hospital wing.
Yeah.
You know, treating people like it was on punishment. I weren't for doing that, me.
No, that's not what an hospital's about.
No.
Number 3. Why was you not judgmental towards people who'd created victims?
I think you just take people as they are. Most prisoners just got on with the prison. There were some who didn't want anything to do with you, but would get on with the jail. I think for me, just me as a prison officer, you just react. Some people are obnoxious and horrible to everybody, including other prisoners. Then I just took people as they were. You know, you give someone a chance.
You think if you're judgmental, it makes your job even harder? You're just troubled with conflict then, aren't you, in your own mind?
Oh, I had plenty of conflict, but I suppose it's how you deal with it. I honestly don't believe I took anything personal. I got assaulted quite a few times and that, didn't take it personal. You know, the voice of reason quite often wins through. There weren't many people, even those who are mentally unwell, because Miss Bradbury used to say, you know, mental illness, you know, mental health is no excuse for bad behaviour. And she used to say that a lot to people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just how we are, really. However, I did work with prison officers who were very judgmental, but nonetheless, they were still good staff.
Yeah. Just
different.
Number 4, I think this is important for me to know, because you spoke about it quite a lot, and I used to love my grandparents. You know, I miss them dearly.
Yep.
You spoke on your channel about the morals you adapted from your grandmother. What was your happiest memory with her?
My nan? Lots. I lived with her after my mum died, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, brought up as a single parent family. When my mum went, my nan was your point of contact. You know, people in life, don't you? You always go to your mum and dad's or whatever, unless something goes wrong in relationships. We've talked about that. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So I went through a really bad period for a couple of years. Ended up stopping with my nan. 1 bedroom flat. You know, it was just, she never thought bad of me. I think it's just, you know, just how she was in general. I mean, when I lived there, people won't understand this. I worked nights, me, because it was a 1 bedroom flat. I would literally go running from work. So she'd get up, I'd get in and have a full breakfast. I'd get in bed that was still warm because it was a 1 bedroom flat. Get in my nan's bed, I'd get up at dinner, good training, come back to her dinner, and then 6 o'clock go to work with a big box full of scran. Just looked after me.
So did you spend a lot of time with your gran when you was a child?
Yeah, well,
growing up?
My mum always worked. What people would see as menial jobs, she always went out to clean. I think anybody, you know, she was working around me and my sister because she was bringing them up. So when my mum weren't there, doing my nan, but my nan also looked after her mum when we were growing up. That's what you did, innit? You looked after your family in-house, you know. So it's that sort of bond or whatever.
They were strong people, our grandparents.
Well, again, my nan come through war, yeah?
Yeah.
She had 3 kids, baby boomers, yeah. Towards end at war, all the brothers went off fighting. My granddad, I think he got Parkinson's in end, but it was that sort of, you know, she worked on Sheffield trams during war. People, life didn't stop.
No.
She worked, and what you got, you shared. You know, if next door neighbours' little kids were starving, you'd sit around your table. So,
did she used to talk to you about the war?
This made me quite sad. She did, when we spent a lot of time together, but a lot of my uncles, who were her brothers and that, growing up, to me were weird, strange. And then most of them had passed, and she got all letters out, medals, and talked about them going off. And then, you know, so sort of late teens, you sort of get an understanding them people. When they're growing up, they were strange. They were always in suits. My Uncle Vic were always deaf. You know, as a kid, you'd be talking, he'd go, what? He worked on a big Bofors gun. That's why we're deaf.
Yeah.
So, yeah, towards the end of her life, she did.
You see, my nana and granddad, they never spoke about the war. I even asked my dad, did your mum and dad ever talk to you about the war? And he said, no, not much. We think granddad was in the RAF. Not sure what nana, you know, what she were doing, but I'd have been interested in, you know.
I think that's the thing, mate. I was interested to find out.
Yeah, I was interested, but I think it was too traumatic for them to talk about. Or they maybe thought that we didn't need to hear things like that.
Maybe.
You know.
Maybe. I definitely would have, you know, I got an understanding, but like I said, most of them are gone then. Yeah. So. Quite sad, really.
You know, when you think back to, see, when I think back to being a granddad, I think back to being a kid. I have memories with him. I always remember my granddad's cold rice pudding. He used to make it with sterilised milk, and he used to put the skin on top. Yeah, you know, he'd do that. At the time, football used to be on BBC One, and you was in that living room. You couldn't speak, but you could not speak when Man United were on that telly. But after breaks at half time, you know, it's party time. He was up, he was getting the ice lollies out and doing this and biscuits, but then that whistle would go for second half and that was it again.
Well, you know, it was disciplined. It's like the manners. It was absolutely instilled.
Yeah. Please
and thank yous. Respect your elders.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely.
She's missing, sadly, now, I think.
Number 5. If there was one thing you could change about prison life, what would it be?
Right now?
Yeah.
Enough staff to do the job.
Yeah.
So they could run a regime.
What about additional training because of the age of prison officers now? If they're using it as a revolving door at the moment, aren't they? They're using it, get the HMP stamp on the CV, they can go out and get near enough any job, can't they?
Yeah.
You know?
Age-wise training, that it's on the job training. It's always going to be. There's no training you can do. You know, people are always screaming out they need mental health training. You'd spend 3 years like training a nurse if you can't do that.
No.
The sad thing is now there's less and less experience, less and less decent managers, and that is what it needs.
Was it on one of your vlogs? I heard you. I'm not sure if it was where a new officer had finished his training, hit the landing, and a more experienced officer said, right, everything you just learnt then, forget it. Your training starts now.
Well, of course it does.
Yeah.
You know, training school's shite. What you need to learn is how to react to things and that, and react to people. And if you're working with you're an officer who his way of dealing with people is get behind your fucking door, get off your fucking bell. Yeah. That's what people become.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Number 6. Do you believe in rehabilitation? And if so, then how?
No. We don't do any rehabilitation. I never did any. Treat people right, treat them decent. That's the best chance you've got. If people are treated right, treat decent. You know, when they get out of prison, we definitely don't give them the tools. It's, you know, people need to change like yourself. Bit of purpose. People need purpose in life. So.
Yeah. It's not your taxi, is it?
No.
It's not mine neither. Yeah, I agree. Rehabilitation, I think, comes with age. A lot of it. Because I think you start looking at life a little bit different. I remember my mum and dad walking on a visit one day, and they were old, and I didn't see it coming. I hadn't seen it coming, and it was really sad to see. You know, I remember my dad, big man, 6'2", 6'3", kung fu, martial arts, always training in back garden. You know, sitting on his back when he's doing push-ups and stuff like that, and it's like oblivion. You started them drugs, and then a massive chunk of life went by, and I didn't see it, mate. And I think so. Yeah, I think
life-changing events. Yeah. Finding a partner, having kids. You know, a few people just get fed up of going back to prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the whole resettlement thing, we need to treat people right. We don't do it in this country. Yeah. There's plenty of models around the world. I honestly don't think this country is that forward thinking, me.
No. No, I mean,
you know, start dealing with mental health and addiction and stuff like that, and stop sending people to prison.
Now then, if you were a governor, then what would you do to better run your prison?
If I was a governor,
or what would you implement that's maybe not there now?
Difficult one now. Well, if I tell you the governors I respected, not necessarily liked, but respected, you know, they did the job right, they did care about staff, but they were also they were on the ball. So the general running of the jail, they knew what was going on. You know, if we'll talk about Governor Vince, if he come on healthcare and went to laundry and said to me, Mr. Samworth, could do with a repaint or whatever, it's untidy, then I get that done.
Yeah.
as I did, and then the next time he come on there, he wouldn't say anything. He'd walk round far landing. I knew where they were going, me, and it'd be done. And it was like, yes, that's a lot better, you know.
Yeah.
But also, they dealt with things in a professional manner. As a governor, a manager, you got to be professional, and you've got to have integrity. And sadly, I think a lot of that is lacking. I think now, you know, they're covering a lot up. The prison service is covering a lot of things up. People aren't honest.
Yeah, I know that. I know that from past years.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Number 8. What was your scariest encounter as a prison officer?
I'm going to say the funeral escorts. I've talked about them before. You know, Salford funeral escort, 2 staff, 2 prisoners, a lot of people, scary looking characters in Crombies, long coats, beards, sunglasses. It's not a real situation at all. Do you know what I mean? But plenty of twitchy ass type situations and stuff.
I think funerals, I think they should be facilitated by the policemen and not prison officers.
There'd be no. I know what you're saying. It's a very difficult one now. It's a security risk, and it's somebody ticking a box. And if there's not enough staff, it's not going to happen. I think if anything's going to kick off at a funeral, or they're going to try and get them cuffs off or anything like that, they're going to be less thoughtful towards doing it to a police officer. Well, I actually don't. I tell you, a long-time copper, worked in Moss Side, read the book, long message, we exchanged messages. I said to him, why don't you come on the channel? He says, you know, I've done my bit, I just want to go under the radar now. But he did say, that funeral escort you talked about in the book, I was there, we weren't coming in and helping you, you were on your Jack Jones. Yeah, he says, and there's nothing, he says, there's absolutely no chance that I was sticking my head out from anywhere and helping you. You know, it's an impossible situation.
Yeah, because they were under surveillance, weren't they? So,
yeah, of course they were.
God.
Of course they were.
And he said you were on your own if it kicks off.
Funerals are difficult.
Yeah, definitely. Number 9. Do you feel sorry for people in prison?
Do I feel sorry? We all have choices. However, meeting a lot of people now and talking to a lot of people, life circumstances, life choices, I just view it very different. You know, kids, it might not be the proper answer, but we need to educate kids on life. I keep saying that, and they need to be, you know, they need to be aware that all people aren't nice to kids. They need to be aware of dangers of social media. They need to be able to feed themselves. They need to know about eating disorders. They need to know about drugs. They need to know about alcohol, all these things. So I just see it as just like a hopeless situation. We're in here, we're just going to provide more places and send people to prison. That's it.
Warehousing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing in this country, warehousing.
This question is from my stepson's girlfriend. She said, because of your years in the service, would this make you more protective over your children?
No, I think how you are makes you protective, irrespective. It'd be very easy to lock them down and not let them out of the house or whatever. I think talking to your kids openly about a lot of things. Let's bring up the hot topic, like sex. Things like that, about dangers, being safe. I tell you what makes it worse for me. Not being a prison officer, when I used to work on doors and you'd see lasses, groups of lasses, you'd see one who quite clearly was really drunk or something, and they'd end up on their own talking to 3 lads or something like that, or trying to get them in a taxi, that sort of thing used to scare the shit out of me. So again, teaching them common sense, you know, looking after your mates, times. Well, I went to a do, didn't I? I told you I went to a rugby reunion a couple of weeks ago. I come out, so I got a car full. One of the lads we used to knock about was hammered, mate, hammered. Drove well out of my way with other lads to take him home and make sure, you know, and we're all like in his 50s and 60s, so it's just looking out for people, warning them of the dangers.
That's a big one for me, because like you said, back in the day, you went in a pub, your kid could sit on an old man's knee, buy him a packet of crisps and things like that. You'd let him go out to the park and stuff like that at a certain age or whatever, be in for such a time. Now, because of prison and because of the amount of sex offenders that, I mean, when you consider Strangeways, 3 wings, what does that cover? 400, 450, maybe 500 prisoners.
Yeah, well, it was
VPs,
on the up. It was on the up.
That's one prison. That's one prison.
Yep.
500 VPs.
Yeah, people have been caught.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at people who are out on licence, people who have not been caught. Then you count up the other prisons. You know, most prisons have 1 or 2, you know, sex offender wings. So for me, I think, and the internet.
It's a taboo subject. People don't talk about it. There's an advert on one of the Leeds radio stations that I heard. It said, I can't remember the whole, but the gist of it was, you know, 1 in 10 kids by age of 15, 16 have been abused. That's 3 in every classroom. Look for the warning signs, yeah? And I think that's what it is, because the problem is they've got a lifetime of mental health, mental illness, that sort of thing, trying to cope and stuff like that. This is why I think sentences should, somebody who has abused, loads of kids over a lifetime or whatever, all that hurt, damage, you know, sometimes it's hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
It should reflect that.
And even one kid that's abused, it's not just that kid that feels that trauma and lives that experience, it's the family. It's the whole family.
It's a very real danger.
It's a knock-on effect, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Okay.
Did that answer the question?
It did, thank you very much. Number 11, we spoke about this. Was you ever present when an officer or officers were beating a prisoner? And if so, what did you do? And how did you feel?
One officer attacked a prisoner. Me and another lad dragged him off him. It does happen.
Yeah, it does.
For me, it's, you know, you're not above the law. End of. That's it. But short answer, you're not above the law. Yeah,
you don't have to.
It's an abuse of power.
Yeah.
And it's assault, and people should be prosecuted.
Yeah.
And prison governors ought to be supporting that.
Yeah.
I think the worry is that people cover a lot of things up because it's bringing their prison service into disrepute. But just the same, this is what I could never get me. You know, people who in the past you known have been abuse of power, would be calling people who were corrupt and bringing things in. So in their minds, okay to beat someone, can't bring drugs in prison, they're scumbags. Yeah. End of.
Do you know what I've seen as well? I know of two officers who were renowned for giving kickings. And stitching people up. One become a governor. One become a PO. These are the things I don't understand. You know, I've spoke to good officers and said, "Why are you not SO?" Don't want it. Don't want it. You know.
Because you have to be a certain sort of person. You have to go along. If somebody's above you, whether you agree with him or not, you have to go along with it. That's how it is. Number one down. I have been in situations where 2 POs have been having a go at me. There's an SO. I've had a go at the SO. They're definitely wrong. They're out of order in what they've done, and the POs are giving it me. And I'm like, no, they're wrong, not me. Just ended up walking out. Well, we'll agree to disagree. Fuck that. So the integrity comes from the top.
But, you know, I don't think people realise how tough a job, or haven't realised until now, because what you're doing, it's never been done. It's never been done. For me...
Well, people don't want to know.
Well...
You know, do you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it is a tough job.
What the public are learning now, from all the stuff you've done, I think it will have opened a lot of eyes. I really do.
I tell you what is good, a lot of people message me who watch the channel and go into the job. Yeah?
Yeah.
Forewarned is forearmed.
Yes. Okay, number 13. Is there anything you would change about the criminal justice system?
Yeah, I would put something in place within the court system so people who are mentally unwell, poor mental health, mental illness, there's somewhere as a stopover before we find facilities and that. It's just too easy to send them to prison.
Well, it's cheaper for the start.
Yeah, of course it is.
You know, which is sad. You know, where people suffer. You put someone who should be in hospital into a prison environment, and they're not on an hospital wing, and they're in the middle of K-wing. You know, so, you know...
Well, I wouldn't be... I've told you before, I would not be building prison spaces. I'd be building mental health, mental illness facilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
We don't need no more prison places. We could empty a third out overnight.
I mean, we've mentioned a couple of names, you know, who you mentioned Phil, I mentioned Raymond. Yeah, these are people that were very, very unwell, and we knew they were only for petty crimes, you know.
Yep.
I know Raymond, he stole a bus from Manchester Arndale, drove off the bus.
Stole a bus?
Yeah, he stole a bus, yeah.
Really?
Double-decker bus, yeah, went for a ride. He took a chase and then he gave up. But they were very mentally unwell. You know, they couldn't string a sentence. Raymond couldn't string a sentence together, you know. It was sad to see. And then they get put behind a steel door.
Yeah, there's not enough facilities for people.
You put people in a concrete box.
Somebody said that other day, who'd been in Scottish prison system, who was abused. There's just not enough people out there. There's not enough facilities.
Yeah, I read that. I read that comment from him. Where are we? 14. Are there any colleagues in the prison system that you would class as lifelong friends, and why?
Not many probably still in the job. I think a lot of them still in the job. Might have other things to say about myself. I think more than anything, people go their own way. Lads who used to knock about with best mates who I played rugby with.
Yeah.
Like the other week, hadn't seen some of them lads 30 years, still best mates. I think a lot of people within the prison service, like prisoners, I know a lot of prisoners said they'll keep in touch. When you get out, you've got your own shit to deal with.
Yeah, of course.
And you just can't keep in touch with everyone. So, again, these people, if they message me, or these people I message now and again, but probably not so much.
Yeah. The reason I asked you is, was it Ruthless?
Yeah. Of course.
He goes away with a group of friends who are all ex-officers, don't they?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
You know, so
there is people do that.
Yeah.
You know, I never really socialised that much within prison. I still had mates elsewhere,
yeah. Yeah, I get that. And so, to be honest, Ruthless, he started a while before you.
Yeah, and his kids are grown up.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah.
My sort of life revolves around a missus and daughter.
Of course, and especially with your situation at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Right, in terms of mental health, how was your day-to-day living in the job compared to your day-to-day living at home?
What was it like at home when I was working?
Yeah.
I can't remember because I worked shitloads of hours up until 2:15.
Yeah.
I think 2:13, 2:40, I've still got my diaries. I worked 60 hours pretty much every week.
While you were suffering?
So 6-7 days a week. Used to go 20 days. We had a day off. Last 2 years, I never had a fortnight off together. Take a week off because you think you need money or whatever. So my days off were basically me and our lass getting drunk and having a takeaway, and that was it.
In a job like that, I don't think it should be allowed for anybody to work 20 days without a day off, especially with the long shifts.
No. Overtime will always be in the prison service, flat on their arse. It's a good rate of pay. A lot of people get into poverty trap.
Yeah.
You know, overtime. Forest Bank, I was on 18 grand a year. My last 2 P60s, I earned double that, £36,000.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
Which sounds all right, but what you don't realise is,
18.
I think the last 2 months I were there, I worked somewhere between 110 and 150 hours overtime each month. Yeah?
Wow.
It's ridiculous. So
it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it fair to say that it's almost impossible for an officer not to take his or her work home?
Yeah. That's a simple answer.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
See, these are the things that I want the public to know, you know, what officers go through, you know, not just everything they've got to witness at home.
Well, it's not all slating them off. The system itself is shite.
No, I know, but the stuff you witness, I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know, bend-ups. You must have seen bend-ups where you think, oh, you know, it's a bit too much. Or, you know, deaths in custody. You spoke about that quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're going home and you're suffering on your own.
The problem is with a job, if you are frontline on the coalface, you know, it's endless from morning to night. Whereas a frontline copper, maybe 5-10% is intense.
Yeah.
The rest of it, it's not.
Yeah. Paperwork.
Yeah.
Well, okay. What tools have you gained to help you better manage your PTSD?
Just helping other people.
Helping other people helps yourself.
Yeah.
I agree with that, because I said to Duncan once, I said, I feel at my best when I'm helping other people. When it comes to helping myself, not too good at that.
Yeah.
Not been too good at that.
Yeah.
But when I'm helping others, like when I was facilitating that group in Risley, I've absolutely loved getting up in the morning and knowing that I was going to that group. There were going to be lads in there, they're going to be able to talk about stuff. A couple of them have never spoke about it before, and I loved it. I loved just sitting back in the chair and just watching it happen. You know?
I think there's plenty of people out there who've been really good at listening and really helping people, never thought about being counsellors and stuff, and make good mentors and stuff like that, and they should use that population, So in this country, instead of sending all the addicts to prison, probably a lot who are carrying shit, you know, what, 45, 50 grand a year, pay people a decent salary, give them 25 grand a year to mentor a couple of people instead of sending them to prison, stuff like that.
Do you know, I wish my dad had gone into counselling. I really do, because he's that type of person. I mean, like, he works at, when was you at the bank? What years?
Forest Bank, 21 to 24.
He left in 25. He was a carrot worker there, Phil.
How long was he there?
I'm going to say a year or two.
And I've probably known him, wouldn't I?
Yeah, probably a year or two. Well, he left that job because it got took over and they'd brought their own counsellors or something, and he ended up working somewhere else as a counsellor, but retired.
I think, right, people who are in a lot of jobs, front line to do with criminal justice, are burning out. Yeah. From nurses to counsellors to probation to officers. You know, you need...
I remember asking him what it was like working at the place where he went to after Forest Bank as a drugs worker again.
Yep.
And he said he wasn't allowed to treat people the way he wanted to. He wasn't allowed to invest the time he wanted to into people because of management, because of shortages.
Yep.
You know, because of... I mean, I remember when I used to go to drugs clinic, and I was under them, I used to go and collect the script from them every week, and you'd go and it'd be, you all right? Yeah, there's your script, see you later, see you next week. And it'd be like, you know, that's it. You know, that was it. Just there's your
definitely
script,
investing time in people would pay dividends.
Yeah. Okay, 18. What advice would you give to someone considering joining the prison system today?
Been asked a long time, be humble, be yourself, and maybe if you've got a smidgen of empathy and humanity, that'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Number 19, if you was to have an opinion about the IPP sentence, what would it be and why?
The IPP sentence, they did away with it. Whether you're for it or not, that's a prison sentence, guys. If you don't understand it, it's about risk management. There is people that need managing, risk management. However, that sentence now, the fact it was abolished, there's still people suffering in prison. The Home Secretary or Dominic Raab, whatever role he is on parole hearings, I'm happy for him to overturn everyone who gets knocked back on a parole hearing and release them. Just get it done. Get people out.
Yeah.
You can't send people to prison other than them that are getting whole of life for murder and the like without giving them a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And the behaviour might be horrendous, but you know, if you're just locked up, your mates are getting out or whatever, and no, it's horrible.
That's the hardest part for me. I mean, you have the length of tariff that you get, which is hard enough, but then you have that not knowing of when you can go home. So when your kids are saying, "Daddy, when you coming home?" you can't tell them. You can't tell them when you're coming home.
The whole parole thing, right? Just simplify everything. Give everyone a sentence that they have to serve.
So re-sentence them.
Yeah, give everyone a sentence they have to serve. You know, if you want people out being monitored, do that. Just simplifying it. It's that complicated, our system.
Yeah.
Way more complicated than it should be. And if someone's behaviour in prison ain't good, they're using drugs or whatever, take a step back, have a look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, circumstances and stuff like that. If someone has a fight in prison, you don't know the circumstances around that. That shouldn't keep them in prison.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If an IPP defends himself or has a fight with a lad who's doing a straight sentence, i.e. you get 4 years due too, that lad will lose his telly for 14 days, who you're fighting. Yeah. You'll also lose your telly for 14 days, but when you go up on that parole hearing, you're going to get 2 year knockback. Yeah. Because it's violence.
Just 2 years like that. They just say 2 years like that as though it's nothing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, last question.
Yep.
I really need to be honest. You be honest here.
Yep.
I've got a feeling you're not going to be honest, but I'm going to ask you anyway, mate. So try your best, yeah? Is it fair to say you're a staunch Man United fan?
I don't do football, me, mate. Man United fan? No, not at all. I'll tell you what I did enjoy. What? At Strangeways, you've obviously got Blues, Man City. Yeah. I enjoyed derby days. I enjoyed people spitting the dummies out. I enjoyed winding people up. You know me. So I'm a Sheffield lad. Yeah, I were on terraces at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United in the 70s. My uncle used to take me, and they started kicking off, and we stopped going. So no, I don't follow football. I can't take football serious. The amount of money they get paid.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Rolling around on the floor and all that. No.
Do you know, I used to enjoy derby days as well as a United fan. I don't enjoy them anymore. I don't enjoy them anymore as a United fan.
It's ridiculous. You know, they're not role models.
£500,000 a week.
Yeah.
A week.
I know, right, I don't understand football. You've got that whatever for offside, VAR, whatever, and all that bollocks. Rugby union and rugby league have had, you know, stills. Referee can go back and look for tries and that. It adds about 3 minutes to the game. Yeah. You can see offences, you know, yellow cards, red cards and all that. Football could have done that. It'd be embarrassing. What would be embarrassing is somebody rolling around that floor when they're being touched. Give them a yellow card, give them a red card. It's not going to happen, is it? The amount of money involved and how serious people take it, it's a joke.
I don't know if you watched Lee Evans, the comedian.
I've seen him. The sweaty guy.
Yeah, he said I was watching an interview. He said Wayne Rooney just finished a football match. He said, I'm not enjoying my football at the moment. And Lee Evans said, enjoying it? He said, that'd be hilarious. 500 grand a week. He said, I'd be counting. He said, they must be going like that. Header, 10 grand. header, volley, 15 grand. He said, I'd be counting it in pound notes or something. Kicking it outfield.
You know.
Brilliant he is.
Professional.
Yeah.
Right, let's leave it. Let's not do football again.
Yeah. The last one was just a bit of fun. Thank you, mate.
Keith, it's been a pleasure. You've won me out now, mate.
I've won you now, yeah. Now you know what we feel when you toss me 20 questions.
Thanks for coming, Al City.
See there.